friends, welcome back to another episode of Sigulu Studios podcast. I've been thinking about the subconscious lately. Actually, it's probably been well over a year now that I have been thinking about it, experimenting with it, and getting some ideas of just what this vast part of our consciousness is all about. From my research, and I don't claim to be an expert at all, but from what I've read and looked at and mused about, this is kind of the picture of how I see the subconscious. You know, scientists say that we use about 5% of our brain. I don't know if that's true or not, but it does seem to resonate with me that there's a large portion of our brain activity that is not being used in our gray matter, you might say. That 95% of it is dormant or unused, and it's a real mystery to the science community as to why we have that brain. Is it something that was part of our past? Did we lose that capacity due to something? There's lots of speculation. As a mystical spiritual being, I have some opinions about that. So what is the subconscious? Well, I believe that the subconscious is the wild wilderness. I kind of think of it like a iceberg, right? An iceberg has two parts: the part that's above the surface of the water and the part that's below the surface. The part that is below the surface is the massive portion of the iceberg that we don't see, right? And what we see above the water is simply just a tip of it. I think of the subconscious the same way, that the bulk of our consciousness is held in the subconscious, in a wild frontier that is difficult to navigate. When we do conscious things, we are aware of just what we're doing in the moment, but we're not aware of what's going on below the surface. A lot of what we think is conscious, is above the surface, but a lot of things that are processing in our being, whether it be our body or our soul, is happening in the subconscious, where the emotions are at. How many of you do tasks every day where you start the task and then your mind just wanders, and the next thing you know, you're done driving to work? I get on the highway every day, 30-minute drive roughly, and I can get in that car and start driving, and next minute I'm at work. And I haven't even thought about that drive into work. My body, my subconscious, is engaged to keep the car on the road and keep me moving down that road. Much of our autopilot responses in life are managed and formed in the subconscious. The other thing I believe is that our emotions come out of the subconscious. When we blow up out of anger or we just break down crying, people ask us, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? I don't know. It's just what's going on. I can't give you words for what's going on. The impact of emotions upon the conscious come from the deep well springs of the subconscious. Another example of the subconscious is the imagination. As children, we spend a lot of time in there, and actually as adults we do too, but we reason it away, thinking that the imagination is really useful as a child. But as we grow up and become adults, we want to reason, we want to be logical, we want to make sense of our world. And so the imagination is relegated to a small percentage of our conscious thought life. If we're artists, engineers, musicians, we treat it as the creative box in which we engage our work, but it stays there in that small box, and we put the imagination in the corner. But I believe the imagination is a gateway into the subconscious, one of many gateways. And as children, they live in and out of that gate all day long. If they're free to explore their imagination and let that come into their conscious life, conscious day, that imagination gate allows for them to explore the subconscious, on a regular basis. And I think a lot of adults have locked down that gate, cluttered it, or just shut it down completely because they've been culturalized, programmed as adults that the imagination isn't valuable anymore, that its capacity to impact our everyday life is greatly diminished. But I believe the imagination is a crucial part of engaging our subconscious, and that it isn't just fantasy and make-believe, but it is an actual dimensional part of who we are. It is an actual dimension that we enter into that impacts the physical realm, our decisions, our choices, and our core values. Our core values exist in the subconscious. What we think about and what we profess sometimes are two different things. What we consciously profess and subconsciously act out can be two different things. We say we believe one thing and then we act out another thing, right? As Paul the Apostle says, I do what I don't want to do and I don't do what I want to do. This is a conflict between the conscious and the subconscious. And what's really coming out is the core value system being displayed. And it opened the door to begin discovering, what does the scriptures say about it, right? What is the passages that we find in the New Testament regarding our mind and thought life? What does it have to say? And I was led into Philippians 4 a couple years ago, and specifically into verses 7 and 8. And it talks about the mind of Christ. It talks about really an exchange going on between you and God, where you trade through prayer. And that's really the Greek word that they use for prayer, supplication, petitioning, those concepts. That prayer is an exchange of wishes. And that when you exchange your wishes for what Father's wishes are for you, and you allow his shalom, the peace, to come upon you, you set up this guard around your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. What I view it as is you are putting on the mind of Christ that allows the transformation in really the subconscious, not just the conscious, but what's going on in the subconscious to be transformed. And really, the subconscious is this wild wilderness of a mixture of emotions and thoughts and decisions and actions and imaginations. It just swirls out there, and it can be pretty daunting for anyone that would try to venture into that place. The phrase, there may be dragons. A lot of our crazy dreams, all of our dreams come into that subconscious, but that is a force that's pushing upon our conscious on a regular basis. And so it's important to me to figure out how to shape the subconscious to produce what I want, the life I want to live, what thoughts I want to think, what actions, what decisions I want to make, right? And so the mind of Christ is important to me, because with the mind of Christ, I can pierce, as in Hebrews 4:12, I can pierce into the subconscious. I can really go there, a place that may have been off limits prior to my relationship with Christ. And now with him as my guide, I can enter into the subconscious and begin to shape and mold and to clean out the things that inhibit me from maturing, from growing. Additionally, in Philippians 4:8, we see how to apply the mind of Christ to our daily activities, to our thought life, to impact and make inroads into transform our subconscious. So Philippians 4:8 says this: whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if it be excellent or praiseworthy, think on these things, right? It's giving you instructions on how to meditate in the conscious to impact the subconscious. We are surrounded by the world around us. We're constantly bombarded with voices that impact our thoughts without us even knowing, impacting our subconscious. Sounds and vibrations that exist externally that are impacting you, that we have pushed back consciously because we're focused maybe on a task or some other thought process. But subconsciously, it's coming in. Our subconscious is pulling in this information and it's going into our being and starting to influence and form a subconscious construct that will later impact our belief system. What you hear, what you view is constantly changing that. It's constantly shaping the vast world that is your subconscious. And over time, that comes out. Your childhood was impacted by your parents' voices. You think about how many times as an adult, you'll say something or do something that instantly reminds you of your parent. So why was that happening? Because over the years, their voice, their actions were imprinting on your subconscious, and it was formulating your core belief system, your core nature. And as you became an adult, those things started to come up as well. The external voices are very, very important on the shaping of who you are. You have to become observant to the voices that surround you. The voices that we hear will harm or heal or be our benefit, or they'll be our destruction, which is why we don't just think on good things, whatever is honorable and true, but we surround ourselves with voices that repeat it. So subliminally, when I have affirmations being played over me, I believe that there are some transformations that are happening. There are some benefits that I'm gaining from the subconscious, which is why I created and are going to continue to create subliminal messaging tracks, fill the affirmations that enlighten and support a maturing of my subconscious to be what I want it to be. This last track that I did called Expansion is around the idea of the mind of Christ. And it's got a kind of alien landscape on purpose because I wanted to express the subconscious as that place of wildness that needs to be tamed, that needs to be gone into and stewarded. And who better than Christ to go in as a guide? And so the mind of Christ is the theme of the subconscious or the subliminal messaging that's in there. It also changes the way I think, right? Because as I'm putting on the mind of Christ and I'm hearing the voices affirm that and build that out in me, then my thought life, the voice inside me that dwells upon the activities of the world and above and below the sun, begin to shift as well. And it becomes easier to actually dwell on what's true, what's honorable, what's right, what's pure, what's lovely, because I'm forming and shaping my subconscious through subliminal messaging and affirmations to support and provide a foundation for my conscious life to be an outflow of these things in how you move, how you think, how you act in the conscious, because you're reshaping and reforming your subconscious with the guidance of Christ. So your subconscious is a wild dimensional universe, a multiverse within you that influences the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you act. And I think that it's important that we learn how to steward it, how to tame it for our benefit, so that it's not one that destroys, but one that builds up. Be aware of what's going on with your thoughts. Be aware of what's going on today about your actions and your choices. And just observe. Why did I think that way? Why did I do what I did? Hopefully it'll encourage you to begin the process yourself of discovering the frontier of your subconscious. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to see more, you can follow me on Substack or head over to my YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about Seguba Studio, head over to segubastudios.com. And while you're checking us out, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, blessings and shalom.